3 unexplained noises in abandoned warehouses, horror stories. Welcome to our channel, the only place brave enough to explore the darkest corners of the unknown. Tonight we delve into the unsettling world of abandoned warehouses, places steeped in shadow and silence, where the echoes of the past linger. And sometimes those echoes aren't so silent after all. We've gathered 3 chilling tales of unexplained noises within these desolate giants, stories that will send shivers down your spine and leave you questioning the very nature of reality. Turn off the lights, crank up the volume, and prepare to be terrified. Our first story takes us to the outskirts of Detroit, where the old Packard automotive plant has stood silent for decades. It's a sprawling labyrinth of broken windows, rusted metal, and crumbling concrete, a place where the air hangs heavy with the weight of forgotten dreams and whispered warnings. It's also a place that draws urban explorers like moths to a flickering flame, each one seeking a glimpse into the past, a thrill of adrenaline, or perhaps something more sinister. Tonight we follow the story of 3 friends, drawn to the Packard plant's eerie allure. Armed with flashlights and a sense of bravado, they stepped over the shattered remnants of the factory gates, unaware of the darkness that awaited them. The early evening air was thick with humidity, the setting sun casting long, grotesque shadows across the sprawling complex. As they ventured deeper into the belly of the beast, the silence pressed in around them, broken only by the crunch of their own footsteps on the debris-strewn floor. The air grew colder, the metallic tang of rust filling their nostrils, and a sense of unease settled over the group. They reached a cavernous assembly line, once a hive of activity, now a graveyard of rusted machinery and shattered glass. As they moved through the skeletal remains of conveyor belts and workstations, they heard it, a faint rhythmic thudding echoing from the darkness ahead. Footsteps. At first they dismissed it as the sound of their own echoing through the vast space, but as they pressed on, the footsteps grew louder, more distinct. They were heavy, deliberate, and undeniably close. Fear tightened its grip on their chests as they exchanged nervous glances. They were no longer alone. One of the friends, a young man named Mark, tried to rationalize the sound, suggesting it might be a security guard making his rounds. But deep down, a primal instinct whispered that something was terribly wrong. They picked up their pace, their flashlights cutting through the gloom, desperate to find an exit, to escape the oppressive darkness and the relentless footsteps that seemed to be closing in. As they rounded a corner, their blood ran cold. There at the end of the corridor stood a shadowy figure, its form obscured by the darkness. The footsteps stopped. For a moment there was only silence, a heavy, pregnant silence that seemed to stretch on for an eternity. Then the figure moved, gliding towards them, its footsteps soundless now, yet somehow even more menacing. Our second story takes us to the desolate plains of West Texas, where the relentless sun beats down on a forgotten town and a solitary figure stands guard against the encroaching darkness. His name is Dale, and he's the lone security guard tasked with watching over a sprawling complex of abandoned warehouses, relics of a bygone era of industry and now home to only dust, shadows, and unsettling whispers.
I wasn't a man easily spooked. Years of solitude and the harsh realities of life in West Texas had hardened me to the ordinary fears that plagued lesser men. I'd seen my share of coyotes howling at the moon, heard the wind whistling through the cracked windows of the empty warehouses, and felt the bone-chilling cold of a desert night. But there was something different about this place, something that sent shivers down my spine even in the midday heat.
It started subtly, a feeling of being watched, a prickling sensation on the back of his neck during his lonely patrols. Then he began to hear things, whispers, faint and indistinct, carried on the wind that whipped through the broken panes of the warehouse windows. They seemed to emanate from the darkest corners of the buildings, places where the sun never reached, places where shadows clung like cobwebs.
I'd shine my flashlight into the abyss, expecting to find rats or stray animals. But there was never anything there. Just the whispers, swirling around me like dust devils, taunting me with their unseen presence.
As the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the whispers grew bolder, more insistent. They seemed to be getting closer, pressing in on him, wrapping around him like icy fingers. One particularly stifling night, as Dale sat in his security shack, the air thick with the smell of dust and decay, he heard a voice. It was a man's voice, raspy and low, speaking his name.
Dale, it hissed. We're here.
His blood ran cold. He grabbed his flashlight and his baton, his heart pounding in his chest. He cautiously stepped out of the shack, the beam of his flashlight cutting through the darkness, searching for the source of the voice. The whispers intensified, swirling around him like a malevolent vortex. Shadows seemed to writhe and twist at the edge of his vision, and he could feel eyes on him, unseen eyes watching his every move. He made his way to the largest of the warehouses, drawn by an unseen force. The metal door groaned in protest as he pried it open, revealing a cavernous space swallowed by darkness. Chapter 3, The Apparitions. Our final tale leads us to the misty shores of the Pacific Northwest, where an abandoned cannery stands as a monument to a bygone era of industry. The cannery, known only as the Leviathan by locals, had been abandoned for decades, left to rot under the relentless assault of the salty air. It was a place of shadows and silence, where the air hung heavy with the smell of brine and decay. Enter Sarah, a paranormal investigator with a thirst for the unknown, and a camera lens perpetually aimed at the veil between this world and the next. She had heard the whispers about the Leviathan, stories of unexplained cold spots, disembodied voices, and shadowy figures flitting through the mist. She was drawn to the place, compelled to document the unseen and to confront the mysteries that lay hidden within its decaying walls.
Equipped with cameras, EMF readers, and a healthy dose of skepticism, Sarah and her team set foot inside the Leviathan. The air inside was thick with the smell of mildew and decay, and a palpable sense of dread settled over them. The cannery was a labyrinth of rusted machinery and cavernous rooms that echoed with the ghosts of their former purpose.
As Sarah began her investigation, she noticed a significant drop in temperature, a cold spot that seemed to follow her. Her EMF reader spiked erratically, its digital display flickering with bursts of energy. She set up her cameras, hoping to document whatever unseen presence haunted its halls.
As the night wore on, the activity intensified. Sarah and her team heard footsteps echoing down empty corridors. Yet each time they investigated, they found nothing. The whispers began, soft at first, then growing louder, swirling around them like the mist. They seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, the voices of unseen entities trapped within the cannery's decaying structure.
One of Sarah's cameras, positioned in a particularly active area, captured something extraordinary. On the grainy footage, a shadowy figure materialized out of thin air, its form indistinct but undeniably present. It lingered for a moment, its spectral gaze seemingly fixed on the camera, before fading back into the ether.
As the night reached its peak, Sarah decided to attempt communication with whatever entities might be present. She sat in the center of the cannery's main processing room, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness. "Is anyone here with us?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tremor of fear that ran through her. The response was immediate and chilling. A chorus of whispers erupted around her, voices intertwined in a cacophony of unintelligible murmurs.
Thank you for braving these terrifying tales with us tonight. If these stories of unexplained noises sent chills down your spine, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more explorations into the darkness. And if you dare, share your own encounters with the unexplained in the comments below. Until next time, sleep tight, and remember, the darkness is always listening.